So far, so good, but there's no guarantees. I won't be comfortable until I hit one of my trails off the cabin.
What happens when a man walks away from fame? Not because he failed, but because he found something more valuable in the silence of snow-covered woods. In a world obsessed with spotlight and speed, Marty Meierotto chose stillness. No entourage, no luxury, just bitter cold, howling wolves, and a one-room cabin hundreds of miles from civilization. Marty Meierotto, once a standout figure on the History Channel's Mountain Men, is a man who chose a life far removed from modern conveniences, forging a path in the rugged Alaskan wilderness. Born on July 10, 1966, in North Wisconsin, Marty grew up surrounded by nature, thanks to his parents, Thomas and Karen Meierotto, who introduced him to the world of fur trapping early on. With his brothers Jeff and Steve, Marty spent much of his youth exploring the cold backcountry, developing a fascination for animals that others would rather avoid. By the time he graduated from high school, he made a bold choice, eschewing college to continue in the family's fur trapping business. However, North Wisconsin proved less than ideal for a budding trapper. The region was overrun with competition and had few animals left to hunt. Determined to succeed, Marty and his brother Jeff packed up and drove to Alaska in 1985, initially planning a short trip to trap fur. But Alaska's vast, untouched landscapes and abundant wildlife enchanted them, and that short trip soon turned into a permanent stay. Starting from scratch in Alaska wasn't easy. Marty took up odd jobs, working as a janitor in Fairbanks and dabbling in construction and logging, all to fund his trapping aspirations. He lived frugally, saving enough to purchase his first trap and tent. Despite the harsh winters and grueling work conditions, he never passed up an opportunity to go trapping. Eventually, he quit his other jobs to become a full-time trapper and build a modest cabin suited for survival in sub-zero temperatures. He strategically placed his trap lines about 200 miles north of Fairbanks and built additional cabins along the routes to provide shelter during extended trips. His resolve was unshaken by temperatures that dipped 30 to 40 degrees below zero. Marty's lifestyle choice baffled many of his friends, who couldn't understand why someone would choose such a physically demanding and isolated life. But for Marty, the wild was not just a place to survive. It was home. Beyond trapping, Marty was a firefighter. In 1988, he joined the China Interagency Hotshots, becoming one of only 4 to complete its intense training program. By 1994, he had joined the Alaska Fire Service as a smoke jumper, parachuting into fire zones to combat wildfires. His love for flying also took root during these years. Piloting a bush plane became essential for reaching his remote trap lines. Despite his success as a trapper, Marty never relied solely on the trade. During summer, when trapping was out of season, he pivoted to firefighting, which offered both financial support and adrenaline-filled purpose. He fought fires across Alaska, often parachuting into hard-to-reach areas. His familiarity with the terrain, combined with his survival instincts, made him exceptionally well-suited for the job. With every season, Marty's reputation as a resilient and resourceful outdoorsman grew. This caught the attention of the History Channel, and in 2012, Marty was invited to join Mountain Men, a documentary-style reality show that chronicled the lives of men surviving off the grid. His authentic and rugged lifestyle made him an immediate fan favorite. He brought audiences into his world, showing what it meant to trap fur, survive sub-zero winters, and raise a family in the Alaskan wilderness. Unlike many reality stars, Marty wasn't acting. This was simply how he lived. Throughout 8 seasons of Mountain Men, viewers followed Marty as he maintained his trap lines, piloted his Super Cub plane across Alaska's harsh terrain, and built cabins with nothing but grit and determination. Every episode was a testament to his deep-rooted knowledge of the wild. But Marty wasn't alone on the show. He was joined by fellow wilderness men like Eustace Conway from North Carolina, Tom Orr from Montana, Jake Herak, Preston Roberts, and Mike Horseman. Each cast member had their own unique way of surviving in the wilderness, from tanning hides and mountain lion hunting, to guiding bear hunts and teaching ancient survival skills. Marty's quiet charisma and survival skills stood out, but the show wasn't without its dangers. On one memorable episode titled Closest Call, Marty narrowly avoided a fatal crash when his plane nosedived while checking traps. Although he landed safely, he found himself stranded without proper gear. With winter setting in, he was forced to stay in a remote cabin, rely on limited resources until he could safely return. These were the kinds of real-life risks Marty faced routinely, something that set him apart even further in the eyes of fans. Another harrowing encounter occurred while hunting goats on Kodiak Island, where he stumbled across fresh brown bear tracks, evidence of a predator nearly 9 feet in size. Though he carried a rifle, he knew it would offer little protection if a bear attacked. This blend of danger, isolation, and survival became a staple of Marty's story. Marty also experienced emotional lows, especially with the death of fellow cast member Preston Roberts in 2017. Preston had been a close friend and respected figure among the mountain men. His passing due to inoperable liver cancer was a huge blow to the community. Marty honored him with a heartfelt tribute and supported fundraising efforts to complete Preston's unfinished home repairs. These losses and close calls forced Marty to reflect on his life in the wild. Moreover, criticism from animal rights groups targeted Marty's trapping methods. Though he maintained that his techniques were humane and regulated, organizations argued that modern humans had no justification for killing animals. Marty defended his practices, emphasizing their role in maintaining ecological balance and adhering to Alaska's strict wildlife management laws. Despite the backlash, Marty remained firm, asserting that his life's work was not for entertainment, but for survival and tradition. Marty's fame never changed his priorities. His wife Dominique and daughter Noah Jane remained central to his life. Dominique shared his passion for nature and willingly embraced his off-grid lifestyle. Marty often spoke about how his family was his greatest support system. After long, frigid days, the thought of returning to a warm cabin, dinner, and laughter with his family kept him going. Noah, who grew up helping her father with trap lines and learning wilderness skills, also expressed interest in flying and exploring, following in her father's footsteps. In 2019, Marty made the tough decision to retire from Mountain Men. Fans were stunned. He had become such an integral part of the show that many couldn't imagine it without him. But Marty's reason was simple. He wanted to spend quality, uninterrupted time with his daughter. At the time, Noah was 13, and he didn't want cameras around every time they ventured into the woods. For Marty, family trumped fame. He was candid in his farewell, stating that while he was stepping away from the camera, he was not stepping away from the wild. He intended to keep trapping, flying, and living off the land, but without the added burden of filming. His story had been told, and now he wanted to live quietly away from public scrutiny. Since then, Marty has kept a low profile, residing in a small Alaskan town with Dominique and Noah. He continues to trap and pass on his knowledge to his daughter, who shares his love for the outdoors. Although he's no longer in the public eye, Marty remains a legend in the eyes of his fans. His authenticity, bravery, and devotion to his craft and family made him more than just a reality TV star. He became a symbol of resilience and simplicity. Marty Meierotto's story is one of perseverance. From a young trapper in Wisconsin to an Alaskan legend and TV personality, he lived a life many dream of but few would dare attempt. Whether surviving blizzards, escaping plane crashes, fending off bears, or helping a lost visitor survive freezing temperatures, Marty embodied the true spirit of a mountain man. Now in his late 50s, he continues to live on his own terms, trading fame for peace and cameras for family dinners by the fireplace. While fans miss seeing him blaze trails and build cabins, they respect his choice. For Marty, the real treasures in life are not in ratings or net worth, but in quiet moments with those he loves. Though Marty Meierotto stepped out of the spotlight, his presence continues to resonate deeply with fans of mountain men and those who romanticize the call of the wild. What made Marty truly unforgettable wasn't just his survival skills or rugged independence. It was his unwavering authenticity in a world increasingly dominated by artificiality. He never tried to be a celebrity. His every move, word, and decision reflected a man living true to his convictions, with nature as both his teacher and companion. His story stands as a powerful counter-narrative in today's fast-paced, technology-driven world. While most people chase careers that tie them to cities, deadlines, and digital screens, Marty built a life of purpose around simplicity and silence. He thrived in solitude. His days weren't scheduled around meetings or traffic. They followed the rhythm of the wilderness. The snowfall, the thaw, the migration patterns, the firewood pile. Life was measured not in minutes but in moments. Setting a trapline before a storm, spotting a wolverine's track, returning home after days in sub-zero conditions. Marty's retreat from public life only deepened the mystique around him. Fans often describe him as a realist cast member of Mountain Men, not because of dramatized stunts, but because of his refusal to perform for the camera. Every episode, he appeared and felt like a documentary rather than a reality show. He didn't exaggerate challenges, nor did he glamorize his lifestyle. If anything, he understated the risks and discomforts, perhaps believing that words were unnecessary when nature spoke for itself. Beyond the TV series, Marty's work ethic and discipline have inspired thousands of people seeking meaning beyond materialism. For many, he became a symbol of freedom, proof that one could live successfully without following conventional paths. He wasn't trapped in the grind. He trapped animals for sustenance and balance. And in doing so, he lived a life full of intention. In Alaska, Marty's name carries respect among local trappers, pilots, and firefighters. He's not just a TV personality there. He's part of a tight-knit community that values grit over glamour. In his years with the Alaska Fire Service, Marty was more than just a smoke jumper. He was a mentor to many recruits. His first-hand knowledge of the land, weather patterns, and physical endurance made him a reliable leader during emergencies. His 337 jumps aren't just numbers. They're a testament to countless lives and property saved. His experience with flight also runs deeper than the show depicted. Marty was passionate about aviation. Flying wasn't just a practical way to get around the Alaskan tundra. It was a form of expression. In the skies, he found a quiet that matched the stillness of the forest. His Super Cub wasn't flashy, but it was reliable, rugged, and capable of landing in places where no roads reached. Every solo flight was an act of faith between man, machine, and nature. Fans often ask whether Marty will ever return to television or appear in future documentaries. The truth is, Marty never needed the camera, and his legacy doesn't depend on it. Still, there is growing interest in a possible book or long-form film that could delve deeper into his journey, not just as a mountain man, but as a father, husband, firefighter, and philosopher of the wild. With the current boom in interest for off-grid living, survivalism, and slow living, Marty's story could find new life among younger generations seeking alternatives to modern burnout. Another important part of Marty's life that viewers rarely saw was the emotional and psychological resilience required to live in isolation. Alaska's interior isn't just physically brutal. It's mentally challenging. There are days when temperatures drop to lethal lows and snow buries paths so completely that it's impossible to navigate. Cabin fever is a real threat. Loneliness, fatigue, and fear can creep in. But Marty found ways to cope, whether through routine, reading, radio communication, or simply embracing the silence. That's not something every human can do. He developed a deep relationship with the land, treating it as an equal partner rather than a threat to conquer. In many ways, Marty's life also echoes older generations of American pioneers. But unlike the folklore frontiersmen driven by expansion, Marty's motive was never conquest. It was connection. He wasn't trying to tame nature. He was trying to belong to it. This distinction makes his story especially relevant today, as conversations around sustainability, conservation, and ecological respect take center stage. It's also important to note that Marty's departure from Mountain Men coincided with a growing personal evolution. Over time, he realized that filming his life altered the purity of his experience. While he appreciated the opportunity to share his journey, it became increasingly important for him to live without spectators. He didn't want his daughter to grow up being followed by cameras, nor did he want to dilute the intimate lessons she could learn through quiet observation and hands-on experience. Those close to the Meierotto family say that life today is even more fulfilling for Marty. Without production schedules or outside pressures, he's able to live on his own terms again, checking his trap lines, building new tools, repairing snowmobiles, and maintaining his bush plane. Every season brings fresh challenges and opportunities. and he approaches them with the same grounded attitude that first drew audiences in. While the television world has largely moved on, Marty's legacy remains evergreen. Fans still share clips, quotes, and tributes across social media. They admire his commitment to living in alignment with nature and his refusal to compromise his values. His story reminds people that true success isn't about wealth, fame, or ease. It's about finding what matters most and honoring it with everything you have. So what lies ahead for Marty Meierotto? It's unlikely we'll see him on mainstream television again, but there's always a chance he'll share his story in other forms, perhaps through his daughter's lens, as she grows into her own wilderness role. Whether or not the world hears from him again, one thing is certain: Marty's impact is lasting. He redefined what it means to be a modern pioneer, not through spectacle, but through sincerity. As more people crave purpose and seek refuge from urban chaos, Marty's path offers inspiration. He showed us that living simply is not about giving up. It's about gaining clarity. And even in his absence from the screen, his story continues to guide those who dare to imagine a life off the beaten trail. Marty Meierotto didn't need a script to be unforgettable. His life, etched in frost and firewood, spoke volumes about resilience, devotion, and the power of choosing purpose over praise. From smoke jumper to trapper, husband to father, he lived by a code we rarely see anymore: honest work, deep roots, and quiet strength. In leaving television, Marty didn't disappear. He returned to the very place that shaped him, where the snow tells time and every step means survival. If this story made you pause, reflect, or remember what matters most, drop a like, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe. We got more untold journeys coming soon. Stories that remind us there's still magic in the real.